And welcome to what might be a slightly too personal edition of Ben's Junk. And definitely new territory for us. We're going to go into recording, music recording, multi-track recording. And this is a Tascam 4-track cassette Portastudio. And this was my... Well, let me just say that once upon a time I reckoned myself something of a musician, but I always had a strong interest in recording as well, and so obviously this would only be logical. And this was actually not my original multi-tracker. The first one I owned was this hot pink Fostex, I think it was an X7, something to that effect. 4-track cassette unit, built-in microphone, no bells and whistles, and I knew absolutely nothing about anything, so I never cleaned the heads or anything, and of course it sounded just worse and worse every time. But that lasted me for a year, maybe slightly longer, and then I got this sucker, and I used the Fostex in tandem with this for a while. I would attempt to sync it up, and so I would use the Fostex as a secondary deck, try and sync it up so I could have 8 tracks, but that didn't work so well because even though these things were supposed to run at 1 7/8 inches per second, the Fostex ran more to the effect of 1 13/16. So unless it was a very short song, things would get out of whack. My way around it usually at the time was I would intentionally have something be fairly bare in context at first, and then as I wouldn't kick it until halfway through the song, so I'd have it queued up ready to go, and then I'd hit the pause button and have it start playing at the opportune point in the song, and hopefully it would stay in. Sometimes I would start it just a hair early, but a lot of my recordings are a bit out of sync. Unfortunately, I don't have that deck anymore, so I can't even begin to try and demo that for you. But anyway, enough of my yakking. You probably want to see this thing, right? Tascam Portastudio 4-tracker cassette. They had the digital ones already at the time, but at the time they were, I think, still 4-track and very expensive, and they you had to burn everything to a CD, or I think maybe even use a zip drive or something like that at the time. So as a high school student, that was kind of a no-go. But I think I paid about $150 for this, and tapes for this thing were $2 to $3 a piece, and I have a whole ton of them lying around. But I've kept it in its original box all this time, all its original packaging, everything. And here's the AC adapter. Nothing special about that. Got the original manual. And of course, the unit itself. Let's see if I can get this sucker out of here. Got the styrofoam. See if I can't get that kind of out of the shot. Still in its original baggy little sleeve, which has been taped together a couple of times over the years. So, let's see if I can get that out of here. So, voila. And let's see if I can't go through the basic functions of this thing. 4-track, mono fold-down button, that's probably as close to a toy as it has. Panning, left to right. And here are the inputs, 2 inputs, and they are not XLR, they're actually 1/4 inch, so you can plug mics in there, but you had to use either XLR to 1/4 inch cable, or you had to have an adapter for a standard XLR. And let's see here. Input level. Choose between tracks 1 and 3 for the first mic, 2 and 4 for the second. And so if you were to pop this in a standard cassette deck, side 1 would be tracks 1 and 3, and side 2 would be tracks 2 and 4. Of course, the recording, I guess you could say, breaks it down a lot further because it's only 1/8 inch tape, so that leaves you a 32nd of an inch of bandwidth to record on. Isn't that beautiful? And counter, headphone jack, direct in, line out to the stereo, cassette deck, CD burner, whatever you had, power switch. Like I said, nothing too special here. So let me get that out of the shot here. I brought my original equipment with me. I went through my storage and actually dug everything out. And so here's one of the cables that you would use. XLR female on one end, and let's see if I can get the tail out here. Yeah. 1/4 inch on the other. And still in its original sleeve. I think I'm anal. And speaking of anal, microphones. Still in its original packaging. And this, the deck does not have a phantom power, which is a 48 volt boost. So you can use a condenser mic on it. And a condenser mic is just a different type of microphone. Gives you a different flavor of sound. And so if I wanted a condenser, I had to find a battery-powered one. And here it is. It's still got its sleeve. And this was a cheapie. And open it up. Everything's still there. The manual's still there. I think even the warranty card. Yeah, still got the warranty card too, which I never sent in. And I took the battery out, apparently, the last time I used this in my attempt to keep it from corroding. Clip, and of course, the mic itself. And to put the battery in, first off, you gotta switch on and off. But to put the battery in, you have to dismantle the mic. So I can't believe I remember how to do this. Yeah, and I don't remember which way the battery goes. Let's see, it's the spring, so it'd have to be negative end. And then you just rebuild it. So nothing but the finest from me at the time. And as for the deck itself, I used that thing at least semi-regularly for 7 or 8 years, so it got its mileage, and this had to have been in use almost as long. I only owned 2 microphones because there were only 2 inputs on the unit, so it seemed kind of pointless to have more. And in reading about it, you know, like they say, you're not supposed to use 2 condensers or 2 dynamic mics or whatever on the same thing, and so I took that to heart. Of course, there are exceptions, but when you're 16, you don't know that. And here's the very first mic I ever owned, Audio-Technica ST95, and probably a bit dusty. And it's all in its package, of course. And this is a dynamic mic, not a very good one. I think it was $20-25 at the time. And it's got an on and off switch. It's just a dynamic. You plug it in, doesn't require any extra voltage or anything like that. Just plug it in and go, and oh, look at that. Didn't even know I had one of these. XLR to 1/4 inch adapter. So you could use a standard XLR cable if you wanted to, so long as you had adapters. And why don't we take a look at the tapes here real quick. Let's see here. I've got, out of the shot here so you can actually see it, a little caddy, which holds, I think, 10 tapes, if memory serves. So, bunch of Benny Boy's vintage recordings. And let's see here, grab one of the tapes. This is, let me look at the songs on here, 2004. So this thing's 10 years old and hasn't been rewound, and probably hasn't been rewound since 2004. This is the first time I've played with this. And if you put this in a standard deck, like I said, side 1 would get you tracks 1 and 3, side 2 would get you 2 and 4. Now, if you stick the B side on the deck, the recording deck, it would play backwards, which sometimes I'd use that to effect, or just to see how cool I'd sound backwards, you know. Yeah, foreshadowing backwards masking, I don't know. I've got another one here that's actually been rewound, and I actually have a mass-manufactured, just standard music cassette here. So take a look at these. They're the same tape, 1/8 inch. They're just different stock. I'd say the stock is actually better on these, so I always use these to record with instead of just buying a bunch of standard audio tapes. And I experimented with it a little, but I don't really remember much about it, except it didn't work quite perfectly. But if I can get these lined up, you can see that, yep, bump the mic. Yeah, they're pretty well identical. So you probably want to see me get this bad boy working again, huh? Let's see if I can do it. Okay, so I've got this thing all set up and running again. I did not clean the head, though, but I don't think it's really going to matter. and I found a recording that does not involve the secondary deck. So this one was released at the time. I have a very rough mix of it set up, and I have the audio feed going out into the CD burner, which will be going to the video. I'm actually wearing headphones while I'm doing this so I can monitor what I'm doing. It's probably not going to sound very good, but at the very least, you'll get an idea. So let's jump forward a bit here. I think I've got it queued up. So acoustic guitar in here, panning, can't really do that, mandolin, left, right, left. I've got a banjo on this track, panning it all around. Acoustic guitar center. And then the rhythm guitar, which plays all throughout. There you go.